This is tutorial 4, and we're going to explain something about the RGB imaging, HSV, and also the different other parameters. So to start off with RGB, we can do some RGB analysis. And the way we can do that is by working with different classes. So if you want to do an image analysis, we can do it like this. You have class 1, and we're going to zoom in to a little bit of the brown spots, like here. I'm going to say pick ratio. So these 3 ratios will change. So you click pick ratio, stand on the pixel you would like to have as your color reference, press the right mouse button and say pick RGB ratio. And now you see it's automatically changed into the ratio that's there. I will make this red so I can show classes. You can see it already shows the other ones. So this purple one, I will put them to black, so you only see class 1 and class 3 also to black, and class 4 is already black, and this one also to black. So now all the pixels that have this value are colored red, but you can see it also colors different parts, and that's something we don't want. And first of all, you can also increase the limit. So now it looks at the limit 2. So it means it looks at 34, 35, 36. It looks, but also backwards, 34, 35, 34, 33, 32. But also for the green, it looks at 47, 8, and 9, but also back 7, 6, 5, and for the blue, the same thing. But if you increase that limit, you will see more and more pixels will join, because also those pixels are pretty much, green. So in this case, you want to limit it to about 2 or maybe even 1. We can check out what it would do, because 3 is, you can see the spot we labeled, but also other things. You see 1 is a little bit less, because then this will also disappear. So we'll take 2, but we have a different possibility, and that's with the sum. What we do is, for example, I will stand over here, and you can see here the values, the sum values here, RGB ratio. So I put my mouse on it, and you can see the RGB ratio is 31, 51, 18. Of this pixel is 35, 46, 19. That's pretty much what we have in the left column. But the sum is 14,000. So that's the sum of the RGB. Next to it, it's 20,000. So this is way darker. So what we can do is we now say, look at the sum of this RGB above 8,000, but that's everything, because this is also 13,000. But if we uncheck it, it means it looks at only the pixels below that level. Now you see you only have some darker parts. You don't want to have that either. But you only want to see this part. And now you can say, okay, let's see, this is 13,000. Everything below 15,000 is in that class. No, not right yet, because it's more, 17 also. So everything below 18,000. Oh, sorry, I forgot a 0. So now you see again that everything is colored, but everything below the younger leaves, you can see that currently the top leaf has that ratio, but also the bottom leaves has some of those pixels. I can again use delete noise. Then some individual pixels are removed. But in this case, the color image, so in this case, we cannot use this, because this amount is so close to other parts of the plant that it's almost impossible to image it. Maybe we can do the white parts. So there's some, we sprayed this plant, so there's some white parts on it. So I say pick RGB ratio and see how this works. Probably above, because it's white, so it reflects a little bit more. And now you can see it's pretty much seen everything, maybe a little bit lower even. And now you can see I can subtract the white parts out of the plant. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's always with RGB imaging. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, or the colors are way too close to each other. But yeah, for some cases this works perfectly. We can also do it with HSV, but then in classes. So you can see we have an HSV color space that runs from 0 to 360. If I do it like now, it doesn't work because it's at 1. So this should be around 150. I don't do it to 360 because that's way in a color scheme you never use. A plan is normally around 90. You can also see the average here. It's 98, so 100 almost. So if I do it like this, 95 and then 95 to 90. Oh, wait a minute, 90. Then 90 to 85. And then 85 to 0. And you then show the classes. You can see there's a nice color scheme of the different HSV values. So you can also, it's calculated automatically again here in the bottom. So you can see 33% is in a class higher than 100. And 42%, so that's a lot of greenness, is between 95 and 100. And in this way you can change up the HSV values and get a really good insight on which parts are lighter green, darker green. And you can just Google the values for the HSV file. You can see how much or which color is green, which color is yellow, which color is orange, for example. You can also again show this color on the color image, so the ranges to see which parts are exactly which HSV factor. What you hopefully already noticed is that we work with a lot of classes, pretty much all the time 5 classes. So this is what you also can do for chlorophyll index, 5 classes, anthocyanin, also 5 classes, NDVI. This won't work because NDVI runs to 1. So I'm going to change it up to a little bit better values, 0.8, then 0.8 to 0.6, 0.6 to 0.4, 0.4 to 0.2, and then the last one 0.2 to 0. And now you will get a nice NDVI value of the plant. And for chlorophyll fluorescence, we can also do that. This runs to 65,000 officially, so you have to, yeah, it depends a little bit on what the value is, but you can see here chlorophyll is now 12,000, 25,000-ish, 30,000. So yeah, per plant, I should look into this, which value you should use. And that's also to find a good effect. Sometimes you have to change up these values because, yeah, you pretty much don't see it when you use the default settings. And you have to be familiar a little bit with which values should I use. But as you work with this software, you will get a feeling for it and see, oh, which value should I use? And you get really nice images. So this is pretty much all the classes you can set. These classes we can also log. We will go over that in the next, not in the next one, but in another tutorial. So hopefully you understand this. Just play around with it. Get a feeling how it exactly works and see the power of the tool. Because especially those classes, if you have a good benchmark and you set proper ranges, you can get a way more out of your experiment because you have just way more information about it. Okay, so this is the values. Play around with it, and we will back in the next tutorial to look at the morphological parameters and some regions of interests.